I'm entering a remix contest for the next Andrew Huang 4 producers 1 sample style video, but in order to enter the contest, I have to make a video breakdown of my track, so that's why we're here. If you have visited my channel before, thanks for coming back. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. Let's get into it. So here's the overview of my Ableton session. I'm going to give a brief explanation of each part, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail one by one. So we've got an intro here, exposition here, a minimal drop here, a melodic build here, and then an additional drop towards the end. There are also 3 sections, and then one is junk. That's just things that I kept around, but they don't actually take part in the song. So I've got the kick that kind of lives in its own little lane here. Then there's everything that is sidechained to the kick, and then there's everything that's not sidechained to the kick. In the sidechain group, I've got one group for percussion and texture, one group for vocals, one group for synths and keys, and then another group for bass. And then within the not sidechain group, I've got just a track from some recordings I made of Iota, a Max for Live device. I've got some 303 acid sounds that I recorded from ABL3 that is present in this junk group. And then I've got some FX and fills that live in their own little section here. Everything that is colored orange on the timeline here is something that was from the original Oblivion track by Andrew. So let's take a look at each section and see what I've got going on. So in this first bit here, we've got this kind of fluttery sound, and that is coming from this original sound from Oblivion. So if I stretch that out here, it's just that. And then I ran it through some pretty harsh EQ, some gatekeeper for a little bit more percussive sound, the echo effect in Ableton, Soothe 2, and a utility for some gain. As the track progresses, I've got some automation on the EQ to let in some of those higher harmonics as the section builds. So yeah, the exposition section, let's take a look at this. I've got an upright piano here. And it's actually made up of 2 tracks. The reason I did this is because I'm not a great piano player, but I can play the chords I want at least. So I recorded each chord individually, and then what I did was I just kind of had each tail of the chord extend a little bit past the attack of the next chord and then fade it out. So kind of to emulate like the style of like pressing down a sustain pedal and then releasing it after you play the next chord, and then holding down the next chord with your fingers. So it gives kind of the effect of like an actual pianist playing chords. Close enough. I've also got a sub that is following the chord progression, the root of the chord. And then, as the section develops, we have this vocal part. It's the sample of it's that sample from Oblivion run through a spectral resonator, and additionally it's going through, so spectral resonator, corpus, another resonator, a vocoder, a compressor, an EQ that has some automation on it, and a gain utility just for more automation. So, as the section builds, it gets louder. So right here, we've got that sample from the original. And then right here, we've got some drums that come in. Those are also sampled from the original track. And then right here is where the main synth, minimal synth melody drop thing comes in. So next section, what we have is okay, so let's break down each part of this. We've got, in the drums section, this is everything minus the kick. So we have this right here, which is... I actually recorded some of the drums from the original track, chopped up and run through Spec Ops by Unfiltered Audio, and then just recorded the output, or froze the output, and then chopped it up a little bit. So that's what that is right there. And then we've also got some cowbell from the original, run through some Redux and EQ. Then I've got 2 snares. One of them is from the original track. That's this one. And then the other is from my own personal sample library, a snare I made myself. And then I just layered them to create that. And the first snare from Oblivion is actually running through Stab, which is like a multi-band transient shaper. I love it. And then it's also going through Disperser just to make it a little bit zappy. So like without Disperser and Stab, with Disperser and Stab. Just a little bit different, but it works. So the synth chops, I kind of have like a 3/4 polyrhythm kind of thing going here. And all that is just this little chop from the original track. Let's see, let me play it out and turn off the effects. So it's that part. And then I have it running through some stock effects, reverb, pitch, frequency shifter that I can automate and bend over time. Just a little like Lifeline console thing. There's just kind of like a channel strip kind of deal. A Stab instance, Spec Ops, and then I've got it running through the MS-20 filter by Arturia. That doesn't get engaged until later in the track, just to kind of shave off some of the high end and let the vocals shine through, which we'll get to. And then I've got the sub, just operator, doing its thing. And then of course the kick. That's just one of my own kicks running through Slap by Mr. Bill, and then this Artifacts filter that only, what this is it only engages the high pass filter when the knob is turned up from the lowest setting. So when you have the knob at the lowest setting, it doesn't actually engage the filter, just to eliminate any potential color that might come from a filter, even when it's at the lowest frequency. They're never fully transparent. Okay, let's see. So we've got that going. Same vocal sample from before. And I just have that one going through the spectral resonator as well. But the only thing I'm changing, I'm changing some of these parameters over time. So the stretch, the shift, the decay, and the frequency. Just over time, changing them when needed to keep it a little bit more interesting. Okay, so let's take a look at the second part of this drop here. So I add a second part here. Not that one. Where is it? Synths, yes, this. So this one is kind of doing like a 7/6 polyrhythm against this. And of course it's not perfectly 7/6 because sometimes I actually change it up a little bit in this first synth chop line. But for the most part, it's just doing some crazy polymeter stuff. And I've also got on these, like, I have this thing that I call the reverb tail machine. All it is a reverb with an EQ before it, and then a utility with some gain automation. So I can let in certain things, kind of like, it's basically like an inline send. I just let in some audio, and then I can automate parameters on the delay. And then if I want the reverb tail to chop off, I can just either automate this volume, or I can turn off the chain here. Either one works. Yeah. Got a little riser coming in here from the original track. Okay, so now this section right here, I've got this is a vocal chop from the original. It is this part. I just chopped off the tail, ran it through some reverb, and then kind of does like it comes in on the and of 2. Nice little fake out there. So it's actually like almost identical to the first part of the first drop there. The only thing that has changed is I change up the rhythm of these chops just a hair, just a little bit. And then I also add a more consistent bass line, and I add some piano chords, and the bass actually follows the root of those chords. And then what else do I have going on? Oh yeah, that's a fill that I made on the OP1. Let's see, what's that? That's another little fill that I made using Operator. Oh, and then Polymax. I've got some Polymax chords going on here. So those are nice. They just kind of fill in the space. The upright piano at this part occupies the lower part, like kind of low mids, or just mids. And then the UAD Polymax kind of fills up the high end with some space. I've also got a little cowbell sample that comes in here with some reverb. So yeah, that's all going on. What else is there? Vocals still being sampled at the end of every bar for like or end of every 8 bars for like a turnaround kind of thing. And then I've also got let's see, oh, these. Yeah, that was a OP1 loop run through Slap by Mr. Bill and then run through Disperser to make it zappy. Kick is still doing its thing. Let's see, yeah, that just about wraps that up. So oh yeah, so there's a little fill here. Oh, that's the riser. No, this is the fill. Yeah, a little fill from the vocals, a little riser, and then I've also got the drum break fill. Yeah, so that's just sampled from Oblivion directly. I've got some hats that come in, sampled from the original, just run through, yeah, sampled from the original, run through Stab and Slap. Some breaks from the original, run through Stab. Let's see. Yeah, the vocals. So these vocals I actually ended up melodyning so that they would match the chord progression that I'd come up with. I only had to change a couple notes, but it really helped. And then towards the end of this section, as the vocals build, I have an EQ here that is being automated to push some of the higher frequencies in harder as the section builds to really drive that saturation. And then at the end of that, I just chop the last part of that, and then it builds into the next section as well. So let's see what else is here. Oh yeah, there's this kind of like a crystally glitch kind of fill. So this is just the original. Let me show you the original sound, and then I'll show you what I did with all the effects. So that looks like I stretched it out and used the grain size to get some glitchy effects, and then I ran it through all of these. So I ran it through an EQ, a grain delay, my reverb tail machine, some frequency shifting, delay, and another delay, just to make a little riser. And then the mix cuts out right there. So it turns off so that that vocal chop sound can come through. And then a little vocal sample from Splice there. I've also got this, I think this is a collision rack. Is it collision? Looks like, yeah, it's collision. A little collision rack I made. That builds up. I've also got some 303 acid sounds that are coming from ABL3. They follow the chord progression, so they change each time the chord changes. And then in the next section, we just kind of go crazy with breaks. So I've got this drum break here, just running through an EQ, a spectral resonator that turns on, and a kilohertz comb filter that turns on when needed, just for some additional effects. I got this that I made using Opal by Fours.fm. Really great drum synth groovebox thing. And then I've got some more 303 acid stuff, bass line. This is actually just an operator sub. One is an operator sub, and then the other one is the like a square wave and operator that has been run through some effects to make it just really dirty. And then I group those together, and they're all being sidechained to the kick, of course. Just a little chop from the original track. Another little chop from the original track. That one is the piano from the intro. So if I were to just solo that out. And it's running through stab, erosion, echo, this lifeline console thing again, just for some additional character, reverb, and a hybrid reverb that comes on at one point in the track, I believe. Another little vocal sample from Splice, and then drops again. And then this, another chop from the intro. And then that is a great little sound design bit from the original track. Love it. And then what else is there towards the end? Yeah, this vocal comes in again. I've been waiting. And then this from the original track. And then, of course, I had to do it. The original woo from the original track, just running through a spectral resonator, OTT, EQ3, and Redux at the end to finish it all out. So it sounds like that. Oh, and of course, I should talk about the mastering chain. The mastering chain that I have is literally just a little bit of EQ. Oh, what's going on here? Oh yeah, I just did some cleanup on the sides, just took out some of the low frequencies on the sides to make sure that there's no muddiness going on in the stereo image of the bass. We just get the focused mono signal. Then I also just did a slight EQ on the high mids there, and then ran it through a clipper, just straight into the clipper, which I like the sound of. So let's take a listen to the full track.